Welcome back to the live coverage of the launch of NOAA's Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellite S, also known as GOES-S, second in the series of the nation's most advanced fleet of geostationary weather satellites. NOAA's GOES-S spacecraft lifted off on a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket at 5:02 p.m. Eastern. In a few minutes, we'll check back with Josh Finch and Mike Curie standing by in Atlas Launch Control to take us through the remaining milestones. For now, let's take a closer look at NOAA's GOES-S mission, designed to significantly improve the detection and observation of extreme weather that can endanger public safety and property.
On November 19, 2016, the launch of NOAA's GOES-16 satellite forever changed the world of environmental monitoring and hazard detection. Throughout the historic 2017 hurricane season, NOAA's GOES-16 delivered imagery with extraordinary detail and clarity, providing an invaluable tool for forecasters, government officials, and emergency managers charged with protecting the life and property of those in harm's way. But GOES-16 is only the first step in establishing the United States' next-generation geostationary observing system. NOAA, in partnership with NASA, will soon launch its sister satellite, GOES-S, extending advanced geostationary coverage into the western Pacific Ocean and adding to NOAA's groundbreaking satellite system. The United States uses two geostationary operational environmental satellites, or GOES, at all times, one in an east position and one in a west position. These satellites orbit 22,000 miles above Earth at speeds equal to the planet's rotation. This precise orbit enables the satellites to remain over a fixed area on Earth's surface and provide continuous coverage of the Western Hemisphere. Once operational, the satellite will command the GOES West position, working in tandem with GOES-16. Weather is always changing, and the better we can predict what's coming, the better we can prepare. The addition of GOES-S is a game changer for weather forecasting and will provide critical data for the westernmost United States, including Alaska, Hawaii, and the nation's territories in the Central Pacific. These areas are dominated by high-impact weather events, experiencing a nearly year-round fire weather season, extreme fluctuations in precipitation, prolonged heat waves, and dangerous flooding. These events can significantly impact human health, agriculture, water supply, and recreation in the region. Like GOES-16, the new GOES-S satellite carries a suite of highly advanced instruments. The satellite's primary instrument, the Advanced Baseline Imager, or ABI, enables NOAA to gather data using 3 times more channels, 4 times the resolution, 5 times faster than before. Together, GOES-S and GOES-16 will provide ABI coverage from the west coast of Africa all the way to New Zealand. Meteorologists and local officials will be able to see severe weather events and hazards develop across the country in real time. GOES-S is also equipped with NOAA's revolutionary Geostationary Lightning Mapper, or GLM. This satellite technology is the first of its kind, transmitting important and potentially life-saving information. The GLM continually monitors lightning flashes, seen here in yellow. This new data is helping forecasters better predict when a storm is forming, intensifying, and becoming more severe, increasing lead times for severe thunderstorm, flash flood, and tornado warnings. In today's digital world, space weather is not science fiction. That is why GOES-S has a suite of instruments that will play a critical role in monitoring space weather. Geomagnetic storms, caused by eruptions on the surface of the sun, can cause serious trouble on and around the planet. Strong enough storms can interfere with communications and navigation systems, cause damage to satellites, harm astronauts, and threaten power utilities. NOAA's GOES-S will also provide a helping hand to stranded hikers, sailors, and pilots throughout the highly traversed terrains of the western United States. The satellite is equipped with a special transponder that can detect distress signals emitted from emergency beacons. When an activated beacon is detected, NOAA notifies search and rescue personnel at the U.S. Coast Guard and Air Force. Known as SARSAT, the program has aided in the rescue of well over 41,000 people worldwide, including over 8,000 within the United States and its surrounding waters. GOES-S is an incredible machine. Join us March 2018 as we see it off on its mission to revolutionize United States weather forecasting.
Yesterday, after a successful roll of the GOES-S launch vehicle, the acting NOAA administrator had a proud moment, seeing his agency satellite sitting atop the Atlas V at the pad. Kennedy's Jessica Londa has more.
I'm here with NOAA's acting administrator, Admiral Tim Gallaudet. Admiral, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have you here on the launch pad.
Thanks for having me, Jessica.
So you've been with the agency for about 6 months now, and you've had tremendous success with the next generation advanced weather satellites, the GOES series, GOES 16 that's up now, and JPSS-1. So what's your vision for how to continue that success in the future?
This program involves 4 satellites. It started in 2005 and it will end around 2036. So a 30-year effort, and it's saving thousands of lives, costing about $10 billion total. But worth every penny when you look at how well we did during hurricane season this year.
Absolutely, and I think everyone's aware of how revolutionizing this has been for the weather forecast industry. But with your distinguished naval background, what can you tell me about the national security benefits as well?
Oh, there are many. Whether it be stateside during training, we used this imagery to evacuate ships when hurricanes were approaching the U.S. East Coast. But I also have experience in combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, where I was on an aircraft carrier, and we used this imagery to plan all our strikes because we couldn't conduct those in poor weather conditions.
That's really interesting. Thank you so much for that perspective, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck in your current post.
Thank you very much.
Back to you.
And Centaur has begun the turn to -3 attitude.
Let's now check back in with Josh and Mike in Atlas Launch Control for an update. Guys, how are things progressing over there?
Thank you, Tori. Mike and I are here in the Atlas Space Flight Operations Center as NOAA's GOES-S and the second stage of the United Launch Alliance Centaur are still coasting through space. You'll occasionally hear the voice of United Launch Alliance Marty Malinowski talking about some of the things that are happening with the Centaur second stage, as well as GOES-S getting into its proper attitude. And Mike, can you recap a little bit about tonight's launch?
Yeah, you bet. We are about 8 minutes away from the next major step, but of course today started perfectly with an on-time liftoff at exactly 5:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from Space Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, with the ULA Atlas V rocket launching into space. These 4 solid rocket boosters were jettisoned at 5:03 p.m. Eastern Time. The payload fairing covering GOES-S was jettisoned at about 5:05 p.m. Atlas booster engine cutoff. The successful burn of the first stage of the Atlas Centaur configuration occurred at 5:06 p.m. And shortly thereafter, the booster separated from the Centaur, and the Centaur continued into space with its first main engine start at 5:06:38 p.m. It burned until 5:14 p.m. when we had MECO 1, and then the Centaur second main engine start occurred at 5:24 p.m. and ended at 5:30 p.m. And that put us in the long coast phase that we've been in for about 3 hours now. And during that time, the GOES-S satellite went from sea level to a current apogee altitude of 17,659 miles and a perigee altitude of 111 miles. This upcoming burn will circularize that and put it in shape for its next several weeks of operations. And Josh, I think you have some more information on that.
That's right. Overall, it'll take about 22 days for the GOES-S spacecraft to reach its proper place in geosynchronous orbit. Over the next period of days, it takes about 12 days for the second stage of solar array deploy to happen. We will stop our coverage tonight after the first part of that solar array deploy happens. And then it'll take about 22 days to begin the start of post-launch testing of the GOES-S spacecraft.
Marty Malinowski will be giving us updates shortly on the status of the Centaur main engine, which has been dormant for about 3 hours now after having 2 successful burns previously. Once again, our main engine start number 3 is scheduled for 8:30 p.m. and 8 seconds Eastern Time. Marty Malinowski, the United Launch Alliance flight commentator, will be briefing us as the rocket pressurizes liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen as it gets ready to conduct this final burn. And remaining on the block for this evening, after the main engine start 3, this will be a rather brief burn. It will end and followed shortly by spacecraft separation, and then about 15 minutes after that, we'll expect the Stage 1 solar deploy, which will signify a very successful day here at Space Launch Complex 41, Atlas Launch Control, and Cape Canaveral Air Force Station.
S3 start sequence. Propellant tank pressures are being increased.
Centaur rocket is now in the correct attitude for MES 3.
4 seconds in duration.
Just under 2 minutes away from the final Centaur burn of the day.
We have LOX pre-start.
Liquid oxygen pre-start underway for the Centaur.
Fuel pre-start.
And
Fuel
liquid
branch
hydrogen fuel pre-start. About 30 seconds away from the start of the burn. Standing by for the burn.
We have ignition and full thrust on the Arrow 10.
Ignition and full thrust, reporting Marty Malinowski, the
Pressure,
ULA
pump
flight
discharge,
commentator.
fuel Venturi, all look good. Centaur PU controlling near nominal.
About 1 more minute remaining in this burn of the Centaur main engine.
Performance continues to look good. Still controlling at nominal MR. PC, LOX pump discharge and fuel Venturi remain within expected parameters for the set MR. And looks good.
Centaur rocket and GOES now more than 18,000 nautical miles in space.
Approximately 10 seconds remain this burn. And we have MECO. Shutdown looks good. We have 4S sounding motors on.
The third and final Centaur burn is
Tank
complete.
has been vented down and is stable. Storage bottle pressures look good. Batteries look good as well. Centaur has begun the turn to spacecraft separation attitude and has begun 50% 4S settling. The coast from MECO 3 to spacecraft separation is scheduled for 169 seconds. Fuel tank pressures are being vented a second time. Tank pressures are stable. Centaur continues its turn to separation attitude.
Just a little bit more than 1 minute away from spacecraft separation.
Centaur has achieved separation attitude. The MECO 3 plus 3 second open looks very good.
About 10 seconds away from spacecraft separation.
And we have indication of spacecraft separation.
And you're looking at the Mission Director Center here at the Atlas Spaceflight Operations Control Center.
Centaur has begun the
Smiling faces and applause all around as we have confirmation of spacecraft separation. NOAA's GOES flies free in a geosynchronous orbit above the Western Hemisphere, where it, along with its sister satellite GOES-R, will aid meteorologists and the public with more reliable weather forecasts. We'll be standing by for the final event of tonight's NASA TV coverage. NOAA's GOES satellite will unfurl its solar arrays about 15 minutes from now. And coming up shortly, we'll have an interview with GOES NASA launch manager Tim Dunn to talk about today's successful activities. This is Atlas Launch Control at a mission elapsed time of 3 hours, 36 minutes and counting, and we are very pleased to be joined by NASA's GOES launch manager and a member of the Kennedy Space Center Launch Services Program, Tim Dunn. Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you so much, Mike. I'm glad to be here.
This was, it seemed to be a picture-perfect countdown.
Wow. This was smooth. They don't all come this way, but when they do, we truly appreciate them. Really, we did not say one word on the anomaly net the entire day, and so you like that. That's a good countdown.
And weather cooperated with you as well?
Gorgeous weather. Obviously, if you saw any of the outside shots here in the local Cape Canaveral area, you knew it was a Chamber of Commerce day, so really appreciate that. You may have heard some discussion on upper-level winds. That was really about the only thing that we were discussing. Had a little bit of a disturbance at about 45,000 feet that we had to just model correctly to ensure that Atlas V could smoothly fly through that regime and maintain its controllability. So once we got that well in hand, about the last half hour or so of the countdown, there was really nothing else to monitor other than an exceptional team, a tremendous team. I tell you, working with the United Launch Alliance team on Atlas V is a real pleasure. Watching the NASA Launch Services Program engineering team manage a countdown, watching what our chief engineer and his team do, seeing how our spacecraft customer from Goddard Space Flight Center, the GOES project and program, how they come and they integrate in for that last few months leading up to launch, and then to execute all that on launch day and to receive a tremendous range support that we get from the United States Air Force here at the 45th Space Wing. Just watching this multidiscipline team do its thing is just so rewarding to watch. I love it. I feel so honored to be a very small part of this team, and it's just a thrill, especially when it all ends in launch success and mission success for GOES-S and this cutting-edge weather capability that our nation will now have.
Yeah, all of what you said is very true. It is an amazing team of people that stretches across the country with United Launch Alliance and the NASA teams. How long has this launch, I guess this whole launch process been in for GOES-S? How long have you been working this launch?
Well, specific to GOES-S, we've been working about 15 months just on GOES-S, because 15 months ago we were here launching GOES-R, its predecessor, which is now on orbit and providing great weather data for our use. So kind of GOES-R and S together has been a multi-year development that's been in work for probably about the past 5 to 7 years. So all of that, there's a lot of work that goes in to a launch day like this.
Will you be our NASA launch manager when we come around to GOES-T?
We're not sure. We're looking forward to GOES-T. Looks like that's going to be in a couple of years in 2020. And Omar Baez, our other program launch director, and I, we sort of flip coins and decide who does which launch. But if it's my turn, I'd be honored to do it. Omar would likewise.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a great process watching that all develop, and of course, we'll be standing by for the solar array deploy on GOES-S.
Yes.
The beginning of about a 22-day timeline as it gets ready to get into action. But up until this point, it's just been a terrific launch campaign.
Right. So I'll just say for a moment, this is a huge year for Launch Services program. This is the first of 6 launches that our program has this year, so a very busy year for us, working from both coasts here at the Cape and as well as Vandenberg, and then downrange in the Pacific at Quadge. So Pegasus will fly a payload for us. Our first flight on the Delta IV Heavy vehicle, go out to Vandenberg and do another Atlas from Vandenberg with a Mars mission from the west coast of the United States. We've never gone interplanetary from the west coast. That's going to be a thrill. And we're launching a Falcon 9 here from the Cape with SpaceX just next month in April. And then one that's a little close to my heart, the very final Delta II will launch this year from Vandenberg, carrying the ISAT-2 mission. So
I recall that is, you're very fond of Delta II.
I am fond. I love Atlas V. I love them all, but Delta II will always have a special place in my heart.
I remember you talking about you can't just love one of your children, but but you do love all of your children, but you have a special place in your heart for the Delta II. Well, thank you again for stopping by, Tim, and congratulations again today on such the culmination of a wonderful launch campaign and a beautiful launch of GOES-S.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
You bet. Thank you.
from Atlas Launch Control. We are just a few minutes away from the first stage of solar array deploy of the GOES-S satellite. In orbit, GOES-S will become GOES-17, and also known as GOES-S. It will be positioned to watch over the western United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Mexico, Central America, parts of South America, and the Pacific Ocean. The satellite will be ideally located to monitor weather systems and hazard that most affect these areas of the Western Hemisphere. GOES-17 will also greatly improve geostationary coverage of Alaska and surrounding high-latitude areas.
We are about 2 minutes away from the expected start of Stage 1 solar array deploy on the GOES-S satellite, and we'll be standing by for that call. GOES-S spacecraft mission director Pam Sullivan is expected to make the announcement to NASA launch manager Tim Dunn and the team of successful solar array deploy. So we'll stand by for that. It is expected at 8:49 and 31 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. This is Atlas Launch Control. We're about 1 minute away from the expected Stage 1 solar array deploy of GOES-S. Looking at a video replay of spacecraft separation that occurred at 8:34 p.m. Eastern Time as we await confirmation of GOES Stage 1 solar array deploy. This video was captured by the Guam tracking site and is being played back. NASA launch manager Tim Dunn in the center of the picture, who goes by the call sign NLM, awaiting confirmation from GOES spacecraft mission director Pam Sullivan, who goes by the call sign SMD, that we have had successful Stage 1 solar array deploy from GOES. Spacecraft mission director Pam Sullivan to the right of your screen, tracking the progress of Stage 1 solar array deploy.
NLM, this is SMD.
Go ahead, SMD.
Just wanted to confirm the spacecraft solar array has deployed. We are power positive, and GOES is looking great.
That is fantastic news. Congratulations.
Great news. So once again, great news from GOES Spacecraft Mission Director Pam Sullivan in your screen there in the Mission Director Center at the Atlas Spaceflight Operations Center on Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, telling NASA Launch Manager Tim Dunn that the solar array has deployed on GOES. It's power positive, and the mission has been a success so far. So it wraps up a fabulous day today, beginning with the successful launch at 5:02 p.m. Eastern Time. Tori, everything has gone exactly per the plan. So it's been a very successful day. And with that, Josh, we'll hand things back to you, Tori, and say goodnight.
Yes, it certainly has. Thanks, guys. That wraps up today's coverage of the launch of NOAA's GOES. For more information about this mission and the GOES-R series, visit www.goes-r.gov or join the conversation on Twitter at NOAA Satellites. From NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, I'm Tori McClendon. Thanks for joining us.